Well, shalom, shalom, everybody. Ariel bar Tzadok here from the KosherTorah School, welcoming you to our online classes of the week. It is the 17th of November, 2019. We are learning in my Sefer, Walking in the Fire. Gosh, I don't remember what number of class we are. We're in the classes. That's all that matters. Anyway, tonight, we're going to have some very, very interesting stuff to talk about with regards to practical applications of some very deep and advanced Kabbalistic practices. And needless to say, we're working from my book, Walking in the Fire. And we'll have some, like I said, stuff to learn. But hey, a couple of things just to let you know. Hopefully, Be'ezrat Hashem in a couple of weeks now, once Kislev comes about, on Wednesday nights at this time, I want to start a second public class in my book, Protection from Evil, Beyond the Text. Look, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world, and most people today are under spiritual attack and they don't even know it. Most people today have been literally, I don't know, trained, deceived, seduced, call it whatever, to have an absolute rationalist point of view at the expense of an intuitive psychic point of view, and it literally disconnects them from experiencing half the reality of existence. Essentially, most people today are half-brained. And that's why you see, look at our world today. Everything is so fractured to the point of everything's falling apart. For those of you who follow politics in Israel, Israel recently had its second election, and it still can't form a majority government in its parliamentary system. There's a threat that they might have to go to a third election, which I don't know if that's going to solve anything either. Here in the United States, the political divide between conservative and liberal, urban and rural, religious and secular, is at not only getting wider, it's at the breaking point, to the point where many people are actually, fearing that there's going to be, a civil war. And you could say, not here. Well, stranger things have happened. Remember the old saying, united we stand, divided we fall. Well, we are divided. And nature is going to take its course simply because there is nothing else that can happen unless not only individuals, but the collective have to make changes. And I'm talking about real serious changes. And it's those serious changes that we're going to be talking about within the context of our, Torah observances. Because if we really want to place focus on making our individual lives better and our world better, well, you can't separate these things. It's not enough that you just embrace yourself in the mantle of external religion. It's not enough that you just embrace the external forms of meditation. For those of you who actually follow me on Facebook, you'll notice from time to time that I put on, my little blurbs there. And I got to put on people writing in text and, glasses, I got to read it. So anyway, would I become a lecturer and a sponsored speaker in the series for the Scottish Rite of Masonry? No, I'm not a Mason. But anyway, getting back to my point. You want to meditate? Let me tell you how you meditate. You do not meditate with your eyes closed and going, Shalom, Shem Hashem. No. Real meditation only begins when you open your eyes, not when you close them. Real meditation does not happen in the silence. It happens in the noise. Real meditation doesn't happen when everything's in order. Real meditation happens when you're in chaos. The whole purpose, and if you've studied our Torah path, you've heard this word before, tikkun. Tikkun means repair. It means to fix something that's broken. Well, our world is broken. Our psychologies are broken. Repair and fixing isn't just saying, I'm going to move to the mountains and I'm going to be at peace, and I'm going to be in quiet. I'm going to Shaolin, I'm going to Wudan, or the mountains of Tennessee. I also thought like that, and that's why for years we lived in Tellico Plains. I loved it out there. But I also knew that it was time to go. And even though right now we're in Knoxville, the Rabbanit and I have agreed already, and I'll put the word out there. We know we need to be in a much greater, larger religious Orthodox community. And we don't know yet where we're going to end up. We're here for now because we had to leave Pennsylvania. And the best place to come back to is Tennessee. But this is just a starting point. This is not our home yet. We'll find a place. We'll find a community. So if any of you know an Orthodox community out there that would stay affordable and is appropriately, at the level of religious observance that we'd be interested in, and you're interested in having a new religious family come in, something, Ariel Tzadok at gmail.com. Give me an email. We can take it from there. So, that's that. Anyway, we have a lot to talk about. We are in my book, Walking in the Fire. You can see that there. And, of course, you pick it up from Amazon.com. I originally titled this class about performing Yihudim and how to Shiviti HaShem always. And then, as I was preparing that by rereading what I wrote many years ago, I said, something? I got to address something else. I have to address the issue of Kedusha, holiness. And I'm going to read to you something from the book, translation from Rabbi Chaim Vital and Shadi Kedusha, which means the Gate of Holiness. Because all too many people have a terrible misunderstanding of what is holiness and why it's important. Now, we've heard of righteousness. People interchange terms like righteousness and holiness all the time. But righteousness and holiness are not the same thing. They really are very different from one another. You could have had, in the days of the temple, a high priest who was holy, but who was still not righteous. We had situations like that. Read your Bible. What is actually to be righteous? The Hebrew word, of course, for being righteous is tzadek, tzadik, all right? It means to do the right things with regards to fellow human beings. When we treat one another properly, that is tzedakah. Today we could translate tzedakah as charity. But no, tzedakah means doing the right thing with one another. When we show respect to one another, when we honor one another, we treat each other with honesty and dignity, respect, all that stuff. That is tzedakah. That is what it means to be a tzaddik. What about being Kadosh? Kadosh is how you interact with heaven. Okay? Think of righteousness being, if you will, right, horizontal. And I always get horizontal and vertical mixed up. I think horizontal is straight out, right? Vertical is up and down. If I got it backwards, sorry. One of those dyslexic things in the mind. But anyway, Kedusha is how we correlate energetically with the universe. Yeah, righteousness is a prerequisite, obviously. But Kedusha is how we eat. Sexual, interactions. This is why, for example, we're very strict with kosher laws. Now, with regards to kosher laws, in all due respect, not everything requires rabbinic certification. That's more of a business today than it has to do with real Kedusha. But for those learned in the ways of halakha, we know the interactions of kashrut. With regards to the interaction with the sexes, if you really want to be kadosh, you have to be very strict, right? Negia, touching, just touching like this, between members of the opposite sex, that is not family and stuff is really, it's a very big asur. Really, unless there's an actual mamash need, like a medical condition or something like that, you should be strict with those things. Tzniut, modesty in dress, mind you, for men and women, very, very careful. And it doesn't mean that all married women have to cover their hair or wear skirts as opposed to pants. It's all a matter of modesty, not necessarily culture. But those things are discussed by other rabbis. Go Google that, you'll find out. Kiddusha is how you properly calibrate yourself, your personality, your orientation, and your body and soul. If you really want to be Kadosh, it's very, very difficult to do that in isolation. So, even though some will go into isolation to achieve higher levels, you don't actually accomplish that higher level until you come out of the privacy and get back into the world. This is what I was mentioning to you earlier, and I was echoing in my words on Facebook. When you meditate and you're out of the world, big deal. Our Torah path is not us rising up to heaven. It's bringing heaven and Kiddusha down to earth. That's that repair that we were talking about. It's called Tikkun. The Tikkun, again, from the Shvirat Malachim. Chaim Vital, and the entire, what we call Kitvei Ari, so it should be Kitvei Marchu, elaborates this, profoundly archetypal system, which truly helps us understand our own inner nature. And indeed, Chaim Vital's system, what we've learned in the Otzrot Chaim series and in the Etz Chaim, I have dozens and dozens of classes on that. I think I'm one of the only rabbis literally in the world, maybe, who has taught this stuff in English and make it readily available to you. Go look at our course page on KosherTorah.com. See what I have to offer you. Don't sit there and moan and cry saying, oh, where am I going to learn this stuff? When it's right in front of you, and all you have to do is take it. Like the old saying, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You can give people the Torah, but you can't make them learn. Kiddusha is all about calibration of energy. Being in a proper place to create a proper environment. That's why you'll look over my left-hand shoulder here. You'll see my Shiviti on the wall. I think it's a wonderful idea to have a Shiviti in every room, except like bathrooms and stuff like that, so that you are always aware of the presence of Hashem, the presence of God. And it doesn't matter your religion, your ethnicity, or anything else. The presence of God is, as we say, Malokala Aretz Kavodo, everywhere. As such, regardless of our cultural, religious, or other backgrounds, to be sensitive to, aware of the higher reality which binds us, keeps us aware and keeps us focused so that we're not getting focused on other things. We all know the big problems that people face today. It's not so much, I'm not really worried so much about somebody sneaking out of their house at night to go and get a cheeseburger from McDonald's. But drug abuse, alcohol abuse, sex abuse, these things are really, really big, even amongst religious individuals, simply because they allow themselves openings that allow this stuff to sneak in what I call the back door. It's very easy to create a front door of religiosity and have a back door spiritually, psychologically. Well, this stuff could come in. That's not Kiddusha. And that is where the majority of real spiritual work must be addressed. It's easy to go to synagogue, be religious, wear your black coat and hat. The ladies wear your shaitels or your hats, right? I'm very religious, yes. And at the same time, you're a son of a gun. You can go into newspapers like the New York Post and see every now and then the headlines of all the shocking revelations that have come out of, hypocrisy amongst certain Orthodox Jewish individuals whose, terrible behaviors have disgraced the name of Judaism. No. That's not really sincere. So, in order for us to properly meditate, then we have to take it out of the theory and put it into the action. And in the time that we have now, I want to focus exactly to teach you how to do that in a realistic way. So, from my book, Walking in the Fire, I want to talk to you about meditative practices. This is something I translated originally from my book, Yikra B'Shmi, Call Upon My Name, which I published in 1993. How old were you guys? What was that, like almost 27 years ago? Time flies when you're having fun. Alrighty. I'm not going to read the whole section. I just want to focus on what's important here. And remember, this is the preamble. I write like this. I translate it, actually. Rabbi Chaim Vital says. He says that it requires a man to separate from all things that can interfere with his concentration. Concentration on Hashem. The first way, only separation from the physical, which naturally inhibits concentration. But he says now, because I left out a whole section in which the ways of the prophets were, the hitbodedut, all that stuff, which we kind of talked about. But now he says like this. We must concern ourselves with the spiritual things that inhibit meditation. These are the powers of uncleanliness, which come from our inclination to do evil, which surrounds every human being. This power is strengthened through our sins. Do you know what it's like to get involved with sins? That's a nice religious word. I don't like using religious words like that because people apply all kinds of religious connotations to something. And they'll say, well, something, you see my kippah? Well, they don't like the way it looks. Maybe I should put it down like this, or maybe I should wear it up like that. And if I don't do it their way, then that's a sin. Something, that's a little cuckoo. That's not what's sinful. This is what's sinful. Let's read on. One who wishes to meditate must first separate from his sins and then be careful not to repeat them at all. That should be common sense. Then must accustom oneself to remove natural negative characteristics. Natural things that everyone has, like anger, anxiety, being demanding, impatient, needless speech, and the like. When the aura of the soul is thus rectified, be it from sin or negative traits, only then is the power of uncleanliness nullified, so that one can be united with the holiness above. At this time, one separates then from the physical world as outlined in that first step, which we didn't bother getting into, and that's what you need to do. He says here, a man is required to separate from the powers of uncleanliness. It is by his own actions of turning his ways, separating himself from ugly characteristics. I think that's probably the greatest challenge that each of us has to face. We call it tikkun hamidot, rectification of the attributes. According to Chaim Vital, and Rashash, and Avraham Abulafia, and all the great Kabbalists of all the schools, the whole purpose of Torah, Mitzvot, Kabbalah, meditation, is specifically tikkun hamidot, the rectification of attributes. When we say to make yourself a better human being, this is what we're talking about. Reb Chaim introduces a concept which he takes from Rabbi Yitzhak of Akko from centuries before him, which we call in Hebrew hishtavut, which means equanimity. It's an old Stoic concept. Pretty much sums up, you don't feel the joy and the pleasure of the one who is praising you, and nor do you feel the angst or upset or anger of the one who insults you. Everything is equal in your eyes. Let's put that into modern terms. Modern terms that I think we should all understand. When you are truly at peace and one with yourself, and you are honest with yourself, and you live what you know is true to yourself, and you're true to your own personality in good, then you want to know something? To the rest of them. It doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't matter what they say. Shiviti HaShem lenegdi tamid, right? I only care what God thinks. So, I'll give an example of my own personality. I, born and raised as a good old American boy from Long Island, New York. And we goof around a lot. We goof around all the time. Very rarely we're so serious. And I remember when I was younger, especially in Israel, which is a very different culture, they're much more serious than we Americans are. But I learned over the years, I'm not Israeli. I can live in Israel. I can assimilate very well. But my personality as an individual is built upon my environment, where I come from. And I live and act who I am. And if you don't like that, God bless you. As they say in Yiddish, a gesundheit to you. You don't have to like anything you don't want. But don't think I am going to change for you because you don't like it. Now, I'm just speaking in my example, and I say the exact same thing to you. To your own self be true is Shakespeare's words. But the only one you ever have to answer to is Kadosh Baruch Hu, God. That's why we say Shiviti HaShem. I place God before me always, not anyone else. I will always endeavor never to disrespect, dishonor anyone, because that degrades me as an individual. But at the same time, some people might not like this, they might not like that, and you want to know something? God bless you, like and don't like whatever you want. But don't expect the other person to change simply because you want them to. Thou shalt not. Good character, proper character, respect. That's all the inner transformation. And you're going to say, this is all boring, moralistic stuff. I want real deep, juicy Kabbalah. Well, real deep, juicy Kabbalah starts with this boring stuff. Now, when we want to talk about Shiviti HaShem lenegdi tamid, there is a concept in Kabbalah called Yihudim. Yihudim means spiritual unifications. There are ways to do it. Many rabbis have written Yihudim. I've written my own. The famous Komartner Rabbi wrote his. Chaim Vital wrote his own. Other rabbis write. And what is a spirit? What is a Yihud? A Yihud is a spiritual meditation, in which we contemplate spiritual concepts. We visualize in our mind, in our imagination, if you will, creating and merging spiritual unities. The way that Chaim Vital would do this, and others, is they'd look at verses in Scripture. They'd look for numerical values of combination of things. And we visualize certain things as having certain meanings, and we contemplate things in holiness. The Baal Shem Tov writes, okay, and I have this here again in Walking in the Fire, page 306. It's actually the chapter that explains it begins in 302. He states like this. This is a quote, or a translation from Tzabbat HaRivash, the Testament of the Baal Shem Tov, one of the original teachings of Hasidut. Every person must serve the Blessed Holy One with all one's might, for everything is necessary before the Holy One, blessed be He, because He desires us to serve Him in all different types of ways. The meaning of this is that sometimes a person becomes involved with other people and is therefore unable to study. Yet, one must be constantly united with the Holy One, blessed be He, and perform meditations. Thus, when a person needs to go out about his business and he's not able to pray and study as he might wish, one must nevertheless serve God in different types of ways. So do not distress yourself by this, for the Blessed Holy One desires that we serve Him in all different types of ways. Sometimes in one way, sometimes in another. Therefore, when your daily affairs beckon you, serve God in those places. This is the great rule. Look to God in all your actions. Focus your mind upon God. For all things that come before you come from God. Now, the Baal Shem Tov is teaching something very profound here. And there are other teachings that say you can learn and as if receive divine inspiration from everything. I recently posted an essay. It's on my Patreon page. I put it on the Facebook as well, where in which in the Makor Mayim Chaim commentary, it makes a statement that you can even be sensitive to understanding Torah from hearing the galloping or trotting of a horse. That was the example. In those days, they had horses. Remember I was saying earlier how the real understanding of meditation isn't with your eyes closed, but your eyes open. Not in the order, but in the chaos. Not in the silence, but in the noise. God is in all of these places. And when we talk about contemplating spiritual things, we look to make the most mundane circumstance holy. And that is how we elevate things. Hey, my old buddy Zach is here. Yo, Zach, what's going on, man? Anyway, this is how it's done. I'll give an example. The other day, the Rabbanit and I went to the store and we bought something. And it came to $68.18. And I looked and I smiled. She says, what are you smiling about? I said, don't you get it? 18, Chai. 68, Chaim. Chai, Chaim. There was another time we went to the store. It was $26.13. I said, oh, look at that. Hashem Echad. Numbers, gematria, numerical values, all have significant meanings. So, a question to you, a challenge to you. Whenever you see numbers, think fast in your mind and look for equivalencies. Look for subtle little meanings. Some will call it synchronicity. Signs from heaven, if you will. Everything around us. I could play this right now. I have a bottle of water here. I'll bet you I could just pull the bottle over here, just look at the label and just start to read things and make up things. Make up things? Is it my imagination or is it something deeper? Here's the secret. Now, many of you might have heard of all this kind of weird stuff that people always do. I was asked recently, can you read the grounds that are left from coffee, like reading tea leaves? And I said, yes, you can. It's very similar to reading tarot cards. It's very similar to reading the ink blot, the Rorschach test. Because when you understand the actual nature of how these things work, there's no spirits involved. It's not evil idolatry. It's not even predicting the future. What it is a psychological procedure that happens in your mind. And we talked about placing God before me always. Well, you want to put God in your mind and allow God to be seen through everything that you do. So, when you look at something abstract, which has actually no real meaning to it whatsoever, you project into that. And what goes into it? The thoughts that are arising from your own inner self. Could be from your subconscious. It could be from your unconscious. It could, in that respect, be something psychic or intuitive. And therefore, like in psychiatry, when you look at the Rorschach, the ink blots, what do the ink blots say? It's a bunch of ink. They don't say anything. But when you look at them, you say, oh, I see dancing girls. I see elephants. I see flying saucers. Right? I see strange things and whatever. And the trained professional is looking and listening to all of your mental projections which are using the ink blots as a source of reference. That's exactly how tarot cards work. There's nothing in the cards. It's a pretty picture. But you see in it something. You feel something in it. It's the same way the tea leaves work, or the coffee grinds work, or everything else. There's nothing there other than what you put into it. So when you say, I'm going to raise my mind to focus completely on the presence of God, then all of a sudden, you're going to start to see things because you're opening yourself up to receiving. And that's the big secret. This is what the Baal Shem Tov says when he says God calls upon you to serve him in all different ways. Yes, it's easy to serve God, for example, in our religious context. Go to the synagogue, put on your talit and your tefillin, say your prayers, blah, blah, blah. You're sitting in the yeshiva all day, Talmud Rabbanan, you're studying Gemara, I'm very religious, I'm very holy. And then you go home and you yell at your wife. You mistreat your children. You act disrespectfully to your neighbors. What happened to all that religion? It just got flushed down the toilet. It's not real. When you're living in the middle of your religious community, it's easy to be religious simply because everyone around you is, and you're just going with the flow. You're assimilating. What happens if you move to a place like Tennessee and you're not in the middle of a real Orthodox community? Can you maintain your level of orthodoxy? Are you still going to observe kosher laws and prayer and everything else? No? Then you can't live here. No? You have to be in that community because you need that external support. But the purpose of the external is to transform the internal. And that is how we perform Yihudim, spiritual meditations, wherein which we use the power of the imagination to try to see the power of Hashem everywhere, in everything. I'll give an example. I have on my desk here, behind the camera, one of these Monster brand drinks. It's really great. It's a nice tea, non-carbonated. I don't drink the carbonated stuff. And it's very, very nice. The Rabbi showed it to me. And they have the big M on it. All right? I'm just doing this right now. And I looked at the M, and I said, it looks like an upside-down shin. I said, an upside-down shin. Has anybody ever heard of an upside-down shin before? Give you a moment there to pause. I'm waiting to see if anybody in text will pick it up. Shin, as you know, is the 3 prongs, right, of the Hebrew letter. Now, if you have an upside-down shin, that's what like the M of the monster looks like. So it just made me think in a minute. But if I have an upside-down shin with 3, what would an upside-down shin look like? It would look like 4. Fit in together like that. 3 and 4. Yes, that's 7, and 7 is an important number. Does anybody know what I'm suggesting here, what I'm hinting to? If you're a Torah observant man, you should know what I'm talking about. In the tefillin, on the head, there is the Hebrew letter shin, which is the 3-pronged letter on one side of the box of the tefillin. On the other side of the box, there is a 4-pronged shin. The only time and place that you will see a 4-pronged shin is on the side of the head tefillin. And you can say, gee, what the heck is that all about? Terry here is saying that the 3 prongs of the shin look like 3 vavs. You're absolutely right. 3 vavs is 18. 18 is high. It's life. Maybe that's why the shin is on the top of the head. Think about that. Go you one better. Let's say the 4-pronged shin. I have 4 shins, right? Each one's a vav, which is 6. But if I have one, then I have to have one in the bottom, which holds it together. So I have 5. 5 times 6 is 30. Add 1 for the whole, 31. 31 is gematria of El, the name of God. Ah, you see how you do? You got to be fast. You got to be quick. When I taught my Sefer Yetzirah class many years ago, I taught techniques to help the mind go quick. Boom, 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 boom. When, for example, we practice martial arts and you are taught forms, how many times do you practice forms? Forever. You do them until they're second nature, that you just know what to do. You don't sit and think, okay, the hand goes like this, and the arm twists like that, and it goes like that. No, you just got to go. That's it, done. Okay? Not the shin. Anyway, my point is again this. Shiviti HaShem lenegdi tamid. When I place God before me always. Yes, it's nice to have the big reminder of the name of God there. But not everybody knows Hebrew. And sometimes it's not available. Try looking at the license plates of cars around you when you're sitting in the most frustrating traffic jam. We just got back from Los Angeles. And if any of you are, Los Angelinos, and you've ever driven up and down the 405, I don't know if is the word driving the 405. Maybe that's a contradiction in terms. You crawl up and down the 405. But then any of you who've lived on Long Island, the 495 going in and out of New York City, we can go on and on. Everybody knows the different traffic jams in their places where it's like impossible to get by. What do? Well, you can sit there and get angry and frustrated and express all kinds of negativity, or turn a negative into a positive. Start looking at license plates. No, not to see which one's from New York or New Jersey or Washington or Oregon, but rather look at numbers. Start making calculations in your head. Look for secret messages, and I'll bet you would always get it and understand. Somebody's telling him that his Shaolin Sifu would make him do something 1,000 times. Yeah, that's right. That's pretty much the way it is. And over and over and over and over again. Yeah, somebody says he lived in LA and the 405 is a parking lot. You bet. But again, you don't have to accept what we think as a negative to be a negative. Quantum reality. Your perception is what makes something either Kadosh, holy, or Tameh, unclean. This is how we rectify our personality attributes. When you're energetically in a proper state of mind. I'll give an example. I know an individual, a rabbi, and God bless him. He could look at a member of the opposite sex, a woman, and he just doesn't see anything. He doesn't pay attention, he doesn't look, he has no yetzer hara with regards to sexual things. And if you'd ask him, how'd you get like that? He says, because rather than look at the external, I look at the energy. And he says that when you look at the energy inside, and you could see, things are not so clear in Kadosh, then anything on the outside is degraded therein. It's kind of like if you want to go to buy a new car. And the outside looks really nice, but when you take it for a drive, everything's all clunky inside. That's the car you're going to buy. Really? I don't think so. We have to learn to look beyond the facade on the outside to deal with the real essence inside. So that is what we're talking about here. This is what Rabbi Chaim Vital talked about as tikkun hamidot, rectification of the attributes. And again, this was echoed centuries before Chaim Vital by Avraham Abulafia. And it was even referenced centuries later by Shalom Sharabi. Shalom Sharabi is the school of the Rashash. Very, very deep, intricate, Kabbalistic meditations. And the rabbi himself writes that it's all for the purpose of and a rectification. Ultimately, every system of meditation and mysticism connecting above means to bring that light below. What the heck does that mean? That all of a sudden I have correct doctrine, correct dogma, correct theology, and I'll point my finger at you and say, this is what you got to believe. That's not our Torah way. We don't wag fingers at you and say, you got to do this, you got to do that. Remember we said earlier, you be at peace with yourself, right? Walk that path, you be at peace. The only one you answer to is God. But what does that mean to answer to God? That's the secret here. You see, when it comes to answering to God, you got to be able to see God everywhere. You got to be able to see and understand that there's a higher presence. Think of it, if you want to use the example of seeing the code, like in the Matrix. You look all around you, and you say, oh, I see a wall, I see this, I see that. Peel it away. That's what we call it, the klipot. Peel it away, and you see the codes. You see the energy. And all of a sudden, everything looks very, very different. And this is being aware. This is understanding and knowing the truth. So again, with regards to Shiviti HaShem L'negdi Tamid, having the Shivitis in your house, like I have on my wall here, is a very good start. You should have Shivitis everywhere. And I'm going to be making my Shivitis available again. You'll see them on the KosherTorah.com website. We have the big poster ones that I'm planning to make soon. We're going to do a fundraiser in a couple of weeks, end of the year kind of stuff, where I'm even going to make the big ones. I'll put my signature on it for those who want, angelic writing on it for those of you who want something special. Create for yourselves a sacred place. You should live in a sacred environment. You should live in a religious neighborhood, right? You should surround yourself by similarities so you do have external support. That's step one. It is not the final step. Then the inner work must be done in complement. Not everybody can go off into the woods and meditate alone and be better for it. Most people, they'll just fade away because they're not yet grounded. When you learn to see Hashem in everything, then you can go off to the woods. But to point again, going off to the woods, to come back. It is said of the Ariel that every week he would go off by himself and literally live on an island by himself for a week and do his prayers, his meditations, etc. And then he would come home to his family every Shabbat. Well, what happened if he didn't? Well, he never would have moved to Svat. He never would have met Chaim Vital. They never would have had that relationship, which led to the Kitvei Hari, which has now pretty much changed Western civilization over the last 500 years. So, for those of you who want to go and move to the mountains, well, again, just remember, it's temporary, never permanent. Hashem is in those mountains, absolutely. But don't think for a moment that Hashem is not in the other place, because Hashem is everywhere. Kedusha can be found everywhere that you choose to look for it. So, choose to look for it. I got here the Shiviti. I want to show you something else. Where is it? Here it is. As you know, this is the Shiviti that we're working with. As you'll notice, right here, I'm going to bring it right up to the camera there. Is that blurry? Looks blurry to me. I have the permutations of the word shalom, and I'll explain that in a minute. But right here, you have the 10 names of Hashem with the vowels. That is called, in brief, the Kavanah of the Merkavah. The Kavanah of the Merkavah is an old teaching. It comes out of the Kitvei Hari. I have it, the whole thing translated in Walking in the Fire. I even showed the Hebrew pages where it is written in the form of a prayer, where it is written in the form of a meditation, Let me see if I can pull up the page here. Like I said, when I do things here, here it is. Here's the prayer form. Comes out of the prayer book. And I'll show you the Rashash version. Oh, let's get really cool. Yeah, here's the Rashash version. See that? That's the Rashash version of the Covenant of the Merkava. And you can say, ooh, wow, that looks so profoundly deep. Not really. You really want to know how to do it? There's the English right there. We'll probably do a class or two in this series of classes right now. But the point for me to introduce this to you right now is so that when you're using the actual Shiviti as I have it, you'll see why the one that I created has all these different techniques and tools in it. Pretty much to give your thoughts something to think about. Different ways and techniques of how to use things. Here. As I said, on the opposite here, you see there? Hold that right up there. Down the page here are the 24 permutations of the Hebrew word shalom. You know what the word shalom means? Don't say peace, please. Balance. Harmony. Someone cannot find the pages? Try page 321. How's that? And then afterwards, Covenant of the Merkavahs right after that. Okay. Shalom. There is a technique that is used in Judaism called permutations. We discussed this in a previous class, in which you take a word and you recombine the letters in every single possible combination of letters. So this is what the Sefer Yetzirah, it's a Sefer Yetzirah technique. If you have a word that has 3 letters, you can combine it in 6 different forms. If you have a word of 4 letters, you can combine it in 24, etc., 520, etc. And this has been a tool, a technique of contemplating the concept of a word in all of its different forms. So, I got the word shalom. It's spelled shin, lamed, vav, mem. So I combined and recombined those letters in 24 different formats. What other words do I get? Dramatic pause for you to think. Maybe none. But that's not the point, you see. I'm trying to teach you a concept. And I want you to see beyond the specifics of a specific word. Because I want you to think of different combinations with everything that you do. Look at anything that's in front of you. It doesn't matter the language. Remember we talked about doing the Yihudim, right? Most people think these spiritual combinations can only be done with Hebrew words like shalom. You can do it with any word. Look for things that rhyme. Look for things that connect. Many of you might be fans of the modern music form rap. I actually find rap to be very innovative. That they're able to rhyme like that, boom, 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 innovatively like that. That's very clever. Got to give kudos, where they do. But this is how your mind just has to flow. Let it out. This is why we used to practice all of these combinations, so that your mind learns, like the forms in martial arts, how to flow, how to allow things to naturally come out of you. That is how you take control and master your mind. It's a matter of training and disciplining the mind. You're never going to be able to accomplish this mental faculty until your heart, your emotions are balanced. As we say in Kabbalah, your physical behavior, that corresponds to what the Kabbalah calls the world of asiyah, from the word ose, which means what you do. You will never be able to have emotional balance and mental clarity until your behavior is decent and moral. If you're going out lying and cheating and stealing, doing all kinds of bad stuff, right? Acting in anger and doing crazy stuff, you know what? You're never going to have peace. Isn't that common sense? Get your behaviors under control. And then you deal with the inner emotional stuff. All meditative systems, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, is all about emotional stuff. We call the repressed power of the mind the subconscious. That's the area we call in our Kabbalah language the klipot. You got to get through that. In my day, years and years ago, when we were training for, pastoral counseling, I did a couple of years of, Jungian type stuff. It was great work for me. And I've been, doing it as a pastoral counselor and Jungian, worker for years now, decades already. It's a system that I know has worked, again, for me. You find it works for you. You have to be able to address the emotional imbalances. That's the midot, the sefirot of the 6 sefirot, of the world of Yetzirah. That is what Rabbi Chaim Vital was referring to in Shari Kedusha, balancing things. Excuse me. If you remember, I spoke earlier about what we called hishtabut, equanimity. That's the balance, balancing the scales. That is always necessary in every meditative system. Balance. No, that doesn't mean that we lack emotions. We're not robots. We are completely emotional beings. But the center of focus is in the center and not going crazy to the sides. You're not in chaos. You're in order. And yes, the pendulum will swing, but then returns. Because then you can ascend into that power of mind and expanding the power of mind. And it's expanding that power of mind through these techniques that I've been sharing with you that will then allow the mind to have clarity and to see through all kinds of things. See through its own subconscious. Tap into its own unconscious, which brings us into the psychic, the intuitive, which can then be projected out through all of these different types of tea leaves and all this Rorschach and all this other kind of stuff. Predicting the future? We never predict the future. That's garbage and nonsense. But to allow yourself an expression of inner truths that you can allow, that you can see. And you pick up on sensitivities. And when you need clarity, Shiviti HaShem, Lanegdi Tamid, you visualize God's name, something Kadosh. You look for signs everywhere. When the Rabbanit and I were back in Paris, and we're in the initial stages of our relationship, we were stunned that every day something weird happened. And it was clearly like a sign for us. I'll give an example. One Shabbat, we were on our way to a different shul that we had never gone to before. And we knew kind of like where it was. And we're looking this way, we're looking that way. And there was this street. And we were walking down the street. I said, look at that. What did we see? Remember at the time I lived in Pennsylvania. There was a car that had a Pennsylvania license plate in the middle of Paris. I called it up and I said, look at that. When was the last time you saw a Pennsylvania license plate in the middle of Paris? Never. I said, that's a sign. The fact that A, it was there, and B, that we noticed it, and C, it was in the direction that we needed to go. I said, if it's there on this street, that's the direction we needed to go. And it was. And we found our way. How weird is that? Son of a gun. That is the subtle little nuances of things. Rather than say, coincidence, who cares? No, there's no such thing as coincidences. Look for meaning. Carl Jung would call that synchronicity. When we say Shiviti HaShem, we want to make Yihudim, unities. Look for significance. Look for meanings and things. In anything, everywhere. And when you can raise your level of consciousness to see beyond the veil of the matrix, your mind will open up. Your mind will think differently. And that'll help your emotions get balanced, which will then help change your behavior. It's very similar to modern psychology, what they call, I think it's CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, where once you change the way you think, and change the way you feel, change the way you act. Well, that foundation in itself is accurate because the tikkun always starts above. That's why Bina, the Sefirat Bina, the power of the mind, that is called aside from being called Olam Haba, it's the place called Teshuvah. Real Teshuvah, repentance, is more than that. It's a return. It's a return to that inner peace, that inner knowing, that inner truth. And that's the secret of it all. So, I've given you a whole bunch of different things tonight and put it all together in a whole bunch of different ways. And now, in the wise words of the great sage Hillel, Zil Gamar. I did my job. Zil Gamar. Now you go do yours. Go do it. Remember the old story from Masechet Shabbat, where in which person came up to the great rabbis Shammai and Hillel and says to me, I want you to teach me the entire Torah in the time that I can balance myself on standing on one foot. The great Rabbi Shammai says, don't give me any nonsense. I'm too serious. Throw him out. Fine. He went to Hillel. Hillel says, oh, you want a challenge, eh? He said, what they call the golden rule, right? If you don't like something, don't do it to somebody else. That's all the Torah and Mitzvah. That's all that it is. Show respect. Zil Gamar. Now, don't just learn it up in your head. Put it into practice. Try finding significance in the numbers all around you every day. Try finding significance when you're driving to work tomorrow. In the license plates that you're looking for, you see combinations of letters, see what they could possibly mean. Combinations of numbers, add them up, look for significance. And if you say, well, I don't know numerical values, learn them. That's not so hard. Look for significance, look for meaning in everything, everywhere. And if you do, you will see it. Even in the chaos, even in the noise, because that's the place that you'll see it the most. And you'll recognize that in the darkest of places, in the most chaotic of times, in the most craziest and insane of moments, that is where you'll find God. That is where you'll see the kernels of truth. That is where you'll be able to take and turn upside down and release the klipot, release the sparks of holiness from that klipot. So, yeah, it's easy to be in quiet and peace. But now, like is taught, the Ben Ish Chai writes this in Untitled Chapter from the Ariel, it's from the Zohar, that each and every tzaddik descends to the depths of hell to raise up the sparks of holiness from there. Well, we're all in hell. Get to work. Let's raise up some sparks. Look for the good, and you will find it. If you don't look for it, you never will. Remember Nahum Ish Gamzu, famous man from the Gemara, right? Whatever bad thing happened, he says, there's good in here, and I'm going to find it. And he did. Quantum reality. You perceive, and that creates your reality. I know a lot of people, some people especially, have that power. You do too. Look for everything Kadosh, and you'll see Kedusha. That is how we do Yihudim. That is how we do the Shiviti everywhere, at all times. Yes, it's nice to have the ones on the wall. That will always give you an external reminder, like being in the community gives you external support. But you also need the internal. Learn from the one and apply it to the other. So which is more important, internal or external? It's a trick question. You should know that because they're one and the same. Internal, external, external, internal. Teferet, Malchut, Malchut, Teferet, Za, Nok, Nok, Za, Zun. Male, female, only the two together are called Adam. That's us. That's it. So, let's conclude on that note. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I hope that I will see you in our future lessons, and I thank those of you who are our KosherTorah School supporters for your support. Remember, if it wasn't for you, I couldn't be here to be here for you. And for those of you who are not yet our KosherTorah students and supporters, please consider joining us for a donation of $50 a month. You get access to all the private classes I'm personally teaching in meditation, mysteries of Genesis, and you get all my written stuff. I just sent out my essays on Gilgulim I just sent out, different things from Call Upon My Name I just sent out. I got other stuff I'm sending out, all for my private students. We'd love to have your support. We'd love to have you come learn so that, together we can do stuff. Isn't that what it's all about? I certainly hope so. Alrighty, guys. We'll see you all next time. God be willing, next Wednesday night. And again, watch our Facebook feed for new stuff, the YouTube channel. Take a look at the courses we have on our KosherTorah School page. I think there's something there waiting for you right now. Right? That's my intuition talking to you. I think you know who you are. Don't ask me who I'm talking about. I don't know. I'm just going with the flow. I think that's the best way to go. Alrighty. Talk to you soon. Up. Blah, 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 blah. Like I said, I never edit. Right? If I mess up, so be it. Why? Ishtabut. I don't care. That's about the truth. Always be honest. That's the best. Rene! Hey, finally he comes in. So, buenas noches. Right? Benui, shalom aleichem, laila tov, all the rest of that stuff in all languages. I wish I knew more, but okay. We'll see you all soon. God bless.